So, hi, welcome. This is a little podcast. I'm Katie Clive, and I'm the therapy assistant practitioner for the Macmillan Next Steps Cancer Rehabilitation Service. And I'm joined today by
Lisa Izod. I'm the business manager for ambulatory care within the Trust.
And we're here today because we wanted to have a chat about the difficulties that patients who have had a cancer diagnosis and had been through the treatments, and how returning to work can be sometimes a little bit problematic. And I've worked with Lisa, haven't I?
You have indeed.
Quite a lot.
For your sins, Katie, for your sins. Bless you.
And so we thought we'd just try something new and do a little podcast to sort of just have a general chat around some of the difficulties and some of the things that propped up for you that made it a little bit tricky.
Yeah, because I have to say, it was challenging. Definitely challenging. Oh, good.
So, are you ready to give this a go?
Oh, absolutely. Come on, then ask me the question. What you want to know?
So, I'm just going to ask a basic one, just an overall one to start with. So, what did you find most challenging about returning to work after cancer?
I think the psychological side to it was huge. That was absolutely huge. No two ways about it. I don't think you estimate what it's going to do to you mentally. And then the big one for me, which you were amazing at helping me with, was my fatigue. Oh my goodness, that was shocking. Absolutely awful. And to be fair, some days it still bites now. But the fact that we did so much together, I've got some really good coping mechanisms, so it's great. So I can do it now.
And so what sort of coping mechanisms were they? Can you expand on that a little bit?
So from that point of view, it was about the exercise. It was about giving myself permission to rest, taking breaks regularly, because you were really, really strong about that. And also because I travel around the county so much, you were like, when you get there, to your destination, take 10 minutes, cup of tea in the car, gather your thoughts, prepare yourself for the onslaught of the day. And actually, do you know what? That's probably one of the key things that I hold true to now. Makes such a difference. Just taking, I don't take 10 minutes now, but at the start I did. But now it's like just that couple of minutes just to decompress after the drive, gather my thoughts, have a cup of tea, gather all my stuff together, not look at my emails and stuff while I'm sorting myself out.
That's good.
And then head on in. So yeah, that I think is probably one of the fundamentals for me, most definitely.
And it wasn't really complicated things that we were asking you to do, was it? It was quite straightforward and simple techniques and tips to try and manage that fatigue, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And not going off gung-ho with the exercise either, and that's the thing, is lots of people think, oh, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I can't do any exercise. But actually, that's the psychological side to it. Because if you do some exercise, it helps you feel better.
Yeah.
And I don't think you appreciate that when you are genuinely so exhausted.
Yeah.
So just doing the little and often, and just doing the things that I could, because as you know, my balance was shot. And it still is not great even now, but I've learned to manage it and live with it. So having one of my push bikes on a bit of a turbo trainer at home, and I can go and have a cycle for 10 minutes and then have a break and do something else when I'm not at work. It's just like that makes a big difference to me, and it's just helped. And then now I'm gung-ho crazy. I'm doing line dancing and yoga. So and the things that I've always wanted to do but never thought I could. But actually now, because of the hints and tips and building myself gradually, and holding true to the things that you taught me, has made that big difference.
It sounds like you really progressed since the first time we started working with you. I think trying to get hold of that fatigue and going back into a swimming pool, you were just doing a couple of lengths, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And still getting out. And the leg pain after that was horrendous as well. So, from that point of view, to go from that to where I am now. And I think for everybody's individual. And, what works for me won't necessarily work for other people. But it's about embracing what works for you as an individual person, and just taking your time, giving yourself that permission to try stuff, and then if you just go, actually, I can't do this, I need to rein it in a bit, or actually, I feel really good, I can go on to something else. I think it is about that, and just that individuality.
Yeah.
I think that's key.
So you're giving us a bit of background about your fatigue and how it was sort of affecting you. What were your main concerns about going back to work and sort of managing going back into the workplace after that long period of being off? And
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I was quite lucky because I was able to work in between treatment because we were in COVID, that lovely pandemic that we had. So I was and the service director that was in post at that time made me work at home because obviously my immunity was really shot. So I think actually physically stepping back into the workplace for me was one of the big things as well.
yeah,
So from that point of view, it was just again taking my time, trying things, seeing how I go. I mean, I've been really lucky with my line management support, I have to say, and I appreciate that again. I mean, people that work within the trust will get that, but people out with might not necessarily, in private industry and stuff. So from that point of view, working for the health service does make a big difference. There is no two ways about that. And I've been lucky with the support overall. So I just think it's a really big change because it changes you as a person,
yeah,
and it changes, and everybody that goes through it will be changed differently as well. And again, it's that individuality. What's affected me might not affect other people. And I think that's the thing. It's just acceptance, but
yeah,
that acceptance takes a long, long time. I was always nervous about coming back to work. Always nervous. It was, it's a big change from when you've been in treatment, you've been feeling really poorly, really rough, then you start to feel a bit better and you can start and do some stuff at home, and then actually stepping back into what is a really intense environment, however you slice and dice that. We've all got to deliver, but I have to say from a management point of view, I've been really quite well supported, so that's been good for me.
And psychologically, did you find it difficult to go back into see people at work after your return? How did you find that?
Hard. It was very hard. I mean, I've obviously got friends in the trust, so that made it a bit easier.
Yeah,
And some of those friends I link with outside of work, so that made it a bit easier because I was able to see those before coming
yeah,
back.
yeah,
And the team that I work with were just amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, when I went in for my surgery, I mean, I was in a really privileged position. When I got my diagnosis, I want my surgery in one of my theatres. So I chose Stroud because that's
yeah.
where we do the surgery for the cancer that I had. And my team moved heaven and earth. And at that point in time, you weren't, it's still challenging now bringing relations in with you, but they cordoned an area off so my husband could be on
That's
the
nice.
ward with me, before I went into theatre, and then he was there when I came back. And then all of a sudden, there's several members of my team that I work with that rocked up at the bottom of my bed with armfuls of gifts.
Oh,
And
lovely.
that was really emotional. And I don't think I can ever thank them for their
No,
support. They were just absolutely superb.
it's those little moments, isn't it?
It is those
Yeah,
little moments. And I think facing them, having them know that what I'd gone through and the support that they'd given, even when I was stepping into work during treatment, I think actually made it easier. But then it's getting your head around the job, isn't it? And
yeah,
then starting to push things forward. That just takes time
yeah,
because with I'm at the age where I'm going through the menopause as well now, and I've got an enforced menopause because of the medication.
yeah.
And for me, brain fog is horrendous, but they're really accepting of that.
That's
And it's
nice.
just like I could be in a meeting and go, I'm really sorry, I've forgotten the words I was going to say.
Yeah,
And they're just like, it's okay, Lise, don't worry, it's fine. And I think being open with people, I think has made that bit of a difference for me, most
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
So I was quite lucky.
Communication's a really big key, isn't it? To let people know how you're feeling a little bit around you,
It is,
makes
yeah.
things a little bit easier and helps them understand that maybe because your treatment has finished and you're back at work that actually you might not be quite feeling yourself still on
Absolutely,
days?
absolutely, and that's the thing. And with having ongoing treatment like I have, I mean, I've got it for a minimum of 10 years post surgery, chemo and radiotherapy. So they threw the lot at me.
Yeah.
So which is great because it's made a big difference, obviously. But the ongoing treatment itself has a massive impact. And I think that's not I just don't think as an individual you can underestimate that either.
Yeah. So what would you say, thinking about the support you've had from us returning to work, so what would you say are the top 3 things that you found sort of the most helpful in managing your return to work?
The Hope course, the absolute cracker for me was the Hope course, and the psychological impact that the whole process had on you, and being allowed to accept what had happened, talking to people that had gone through it as well, having the hints and tips on how you can move yourself forward mentally. That still rings true for me now. I still look back at the stuff that I've got and go, what did we say about that? Can that help me,
Amazing.
And then Recipe for Health was another one, and the association with food and how you can get back to your healthy eating, because again, the treatment, dependent on what you have, it really messes with that. I went through a really bad phase, I guess, and I remember talking to you about this, that it was minted lamb, steaks, mashed potatoes and veg, a ridiculous quantity that I needed when I was in treatment to help me get through. And then actually bringing that back to a normal association with that food, and just moving that forward, and then having the right portions, the quantities, the balance that was needed. And again, I refer to that quite regularly. Personal training that you personally did with me was just superb. And the fatigue management, oh my goodness. I mean, like I said at the start, without that, I wouldn't be on my way as far as I am today. And I know that for me, I've probably still got a long way to go, because I do get chronic fatigue still. I still get massive amounts of leg pain. I get crazy brain fog, some of which is induced by my medication. So and all the side effects that brings as well. So that had that had a big impact. But the Taking Control course, about me taking control of my life back again, and accepting it for what it is then going forward. Again, that so everything that you and the team, Katie, offer, honestly, I can't recommend enough for people. And everybody will be individual, obviously, in that, and get certain things out of it. They might not get some things out of certain courses.
It is about cherry picking, isn't it? The bits that you're going to find helpful and putting that into your own, into your own practice, into your own life, isn't it? And what's going to best for you.
Absolutely. And the thing that I can't recommend enough is to try it. I mean, we've still got a WhatsApp group that from the Recipe for Health, and it was the burlesque girls.
Oh I remember you calling yourself the burlesque girls.
I'm like, I can't really even remember why we did that, but it was just and we're still in touch, and
really nice
and occasionally we'll meet up for coffee and stuff. So from that point of view, it's really good. There's some people have got some really good friendships out of that. I know that with the group that I was with, and you just think that's actually really nice.
Have that connection.
And do you know what? A lot of people just go think about it from a female point of view, but we had guys in our group as well who were really embracing and really up for working alongside us and supporting each other and giving us their experiences as well. So it's just, I don't know, sometimes we stereotypical, don't we? It's just like, certain things, it's always women. But actually it's not. Guys suffer the same as well. So for me, it was really nice to have some mixed groups as well. That made a big difference, because very different mindsets, very different thought processes. And actually will potentially sometimes put that curveball in, something that you'd not think that, that actually might help me. So, from that point of view, it's really nice.
So you did a real sort of mix and match. So thinking about Going back to your return to work and thinking about the main barriers that you had, what did you feel your main barriers were to return into work? You mentioned a couple, and how did you sort of overcome them?
Time. I think time is probably key on how you overcome them. Um, and don't get me wrong, there's still some days now where I just think, wow, can I do this? But I have to say I'm really lucky. I love my job.
Yeah,
Absolutely love my job.
that always helps, doesn't it?
It does help immensely, and I love the teams that I work with as well. And don't get me wrong, it's been quite bumpy post COVID, but I think actually that brings different challenges. And those different challenges are really good to help from a psychological point of view, because you're not always dealing with the same things
No.
that you maybe were when you were in treatment.
Yeah.
If that makes any sort of sense. And it's just that, and just having a really good supportive network, I think, is key. But I mean, dependent on how you are as an individual, is it can be really challenging getting back into work and sustaining it.
Yeah.
It's the sustaining it, I think, more than anything. I mean, I've been really lucky in the fact that, my line management chain have agreed that I can move to a 9-day fortnight. That massively helps my fatigue. I mean, I've got aging parents that I'm helping look after as well, which helps from the time point of view for that.
Yeah, of course.
But actually having a day off every 2 weeks, and I'm lucky enough that they're really flexible, that I can pick and choose my days, really.
Yeah.
So I'll choose a Friday one fortnight, so I'll have an extra long weekend.
Lovely.
And then I'll take a midday the other fortnight, so it's a midweek one the other one. So for me, it's really good to have that fluidity and that help and support. Yeah, it does make a big difference. And
that could be part of one of your reasonable adjustments, and that you could have a discussion with your manager, couldn't it, before you return?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, the challenge for me when I was returning was the service director that I had when I was in treatment and diagnosed. She was retiring literally as I was returning to work, and that was quite challenging. And then I had a couple of interims, and then now we've got somebody permanent, which is great. And I've there's deputy between me and the service director now, so that's really helpful, because I know if I need anything, I just pick the phone up to my line manager. But also I've got some really good connections with my peers, not just necessarily within our directorate, but also out within the trust, that I can pick the phone up and just go, this is happening, what do I do with this? From a personal point of view, because they're nursing staff.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah.
And, they're friends and colleagues and have known me for a long time. So that helps, and have saw me before cancer and know me through and outside the other side. So I think that's helpful,
Brilliant.
just having a bit of that. But we're just generally the fact that everything is so quick fired now, compared to obviously what it was. I mean, we were merging as trusts when obviously the pandemic hit, and then everything has changed massively as we've got back to business as usual, which is fab. But things have changed and have been a bit more fluid as well. But again, it's all about that support, and the trust values that we've got are really helpful to keep things going. Sorry, I waffled a bit there.
No, you're all right. You're absolutely fine. This is what it's about, loose chat, isn't it? So, just finally, I'm going to ask you one more question, if that's okay. So, if you were to work or speaking to any friends or family that have gone through the same thing and they're thinking of planning on returning back to work, what advice could you give them to help sort of navigate that?
So the thing for me would be, reach out to you and the team. Absolutely look at all the courses. Have conversation about the courses and see if they fit for you as an individual. And there might be certain elements that do and there's certain elements that don't. Certainly do the personal training and the fatigue, because actually that just helps you get back on a bit of an even keel, even if that's all you take from that. I mean, for me, I took a lot more. Have that conversation with your line manager and your team, about the flexibility. I mean,
Yeah.
we're really lucky as a trust that we have a thing called a purple passport.
Right.
So I've got one in place that allows and supports my flexibility for work, because I function way better first thing in the morning. And as I get to like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like some days I'm on my knees.
I'm glad we booked this at 8 o'clock in the morning then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you got some sort of sensible conversation with me today. So from that point of view, it's just looking at how your working pattern works as well.
Yeah.
Having those conversations and not being frightened to say, I can't cope with that. I need to consider, and look at a phased return.
Yeah.
I was very lucky I had a phased return to work, and that worked really well for me. Some people don't want to do that. They just want to go straight back in.
Yeah.
And again, it's back to that individuality. But certainly talk to your peers, talk to your line manager, talk to you guys from a course point of view, and grab every opportunity that you can to support you in that return to work. Because if you don't, I think at some point it bites.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And
Make things feel a bit harder.
it does, it's like pushing water uphill.
Yeah.
You're just getting constantly soaked and you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I did on
Love that analogy. I've not heard that one before.
old person Katie, that's what it is. But even from the Hope course and looking at the psychological side of it, I wasn't frightened to refer myself to Working Well when I got back into work, to go, actually I need some support. So I had 10 really good counselling sessions with them.
Yeah.
And they take you right back to things that you weren't actually thinking about talking about. But it helped me square with what had happened to me from a cancer point of view.
Yeah.
And gave me some psychological coping mechanisms that took the Hope course to another level. So actually for me, I wouldn't have done that had I not have done the Hope course.
Yeah.
Because I would have, because I'm quite a private person, so me doing this is quite a big thing.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But actually, it's also about giving back and letting everybody know that actually there is stuff that can help you.
Yeah.
And reach out and do it.
Yeah, that's grand. Is there anything else you want to say? I think you've covered an amazing amount of hints and tips, and I think hopefully people listening to this in either on our picked it up from the website or wherever they pick it up from and listen to it, I think they probably feel reassured. I think, and just to say that there is support out there for people. There is loads of things that you can do to help sort of go from yourself, sort of get yourself settled back into the workplace. So
absolutely,
thank you very much for coming in and talking to us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for asking me, and also the fact that running the fantastic courses that you do, they genuinely do make a difference. They really do make a difference. So if anybody's out there and wants to get in touch, do, because can't recommend it enough. Seriously can't. I wouldn't be where I am today without them. I really wouldn't.
Thank you. Seriously, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's been lovely to hear your feedback, to be fair.